I was sitting in the maternity ward, holding my wife's hand, when I noticed something strange about Nurse Linda. She was always the one rushing to collect the placentas after every delivery. It's not like I'm an expert of hospital procedures or anything, but something about her urgency felt off, like she cared more about those that they actually babies. It all started a few weeks ago when our neighbor Karen told me her baby wasn't sleeping well and kept screaming uncontrollable at night. It's like he's always scared of something, she said, and I don't know why, but I kept thinking about the day he was born. Something just felt wrong. I brushed it off at first. Newborns cry. That's what they do, right? But then it happened to another friend's baby, and another. One of them even stopped hitting developmental milestones altogether, like he just gave up. Nobody could explain it. So when my wife went into labor, I decided I would pay attention to everything happening in that delivery room. Nothing was going to get past me. The birth went smoothly, thank God, but as soon as the doctor handed my wife our baby, Nurse Linda swooped in, grabbing the placenta with this odd kind of eagerness. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. "Don't worry," she said. "I will take care of it." "Wait," I said, standing up. "What happens to it?" She paused for a second, her smile faltering. "It's disposed of properly. Hospital policy." I nodded, but something in my gut told me to follow her. So when she left the room, I slipped out behind her, pretending I needed to find coffee or something. She didn't go to the usual disposal area, though instead she headed down a dimly lit hallway I hadn't noticed before, carrying a cooler. I sat far enough behind so she couldn't hear me, but my heart was pounding. What was she doing? She turned a corner, and I peeked around just in time to see her enter a locked room. She looked around, froze like she was making sure no one was watching. I waited for what felt like forever, then walked up to the door. There was no window to look through, but I could hear faint chanting. It sent a chill down my spine. I told myself to walk away, to forget about it, but I couldn't. I leaned closer and pressed my ear against the door. "You will take this offering," I heard her say, "bind the destinies of these little ones to the kingdom of darkness." My blood ran cold. I stumbled back, always tripping over my own feet. What the hell was I hearing? Before I could decide what to do, the door creaked up. Nurse Linda stood there, her face calm, but her eyes were wrong, too dark, too empty. "Can I help you?" she asked, her voice steady. I hummed, my mind scrambled for an excuse. I was just looking for the vending machine. Her smiles returned, but it was sharper now, like she knew I had something. It down the hall, to the left. I nodded and walked away, trying not to run. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely get my phone out of my pocket. I called Karen as soon as I was out of earshot. "Hey," I whispered, "do you remember who handled your placenta after the delivery?" There was a pause. "Yeah, it was a nurse. Lydia, I think." "Why?" My stomach turned. I hung up and went straight to this hospital administration. I didn't care if they thought I was crazy. I told them everything about why I chanting, the cooler, the locked room. At first, they just stared at me like I was nuts. But then one of them at administration told me aside, "You are not the first person to mention Nurse Lydia." She said quietly, "But we haven't been able to catch her in the act. If what you are saying is true, we would need proof." I don't sleep that night. The thought of my child being tired of whatever darkness she was working with haunted me. The next morning, I went back to the hospital, pretending I had forgotten my wallet in the delivery room. I waited near that whole wall, hoping she would show up again. And she did. Same cooler, same string urgency. This time, though, I recorded everything. When she disappeared into the locked room, I managed to push the door open just enough to catch a glimpse of what was inside. There was a small altar, lit by handles, and a pile of placenta in the cooler. She was standing there chanting, her hands hovering over them like she was performing some kind of ritual. I didn't stay to watch the rest. I sent the video to the administration and left the hospital shaking. A week later, we got a call. Nurse Lydia had been fired, but the hospital refused to say why. They just told us she wouldn't be coming back. My wife doesn't know what happened, and I'm not sure I will ever tell her. But every time I look at my baby, I can't help but wonder that would have happened if I hadn't followed her that day. A few months passed and life slowly returned to normal. I didn't hear anything more about Nurse Lydia, and I honestly thought I would never see or hear about her again. But life has a strange way of bringing things full circle. One day, my wife and I visited another hospital. It wasn't for anything serious. Our baby had small rash, and we wanted it checked out. This hospital was smaller than the one where we had delivered, but it felt warm and welcoming. As was sat in the waiting area, I noticed something unusual. A pastor was walking through the walls praying for the patient. He carried a small Bible and stopped by every bed, laying his hands on people and speaking softly. I thought it was strange, but no one seems to mind. If anything, some of the patients looked relieved. I overheard one of the nurses whispering to another, "Ever since the pastor started coming here, strange things have been happening." I didn't think much of it until I saw her, Nurse Lydia. She walked out of one of the rooms, looking the same as before, but wearing a uniform from this hospital. My heart dropped. I couldn't believe it. After everything that had happened, she was simply moved to another hospital. I clenched my fist, anger boiling inside me. The pastor was in the same hallway, and as he approached, Lydia froze for a moment. It looked like she was trying to avoid him, but it was too late. The pastor stopped in front of her and looked her straight in the eyes. "Can I pray for you, sister?" he asked, his voice calm but firm. Linda's smiles faltered, and she shook her head weakly. "No, I'm fine, thank you," she said, her tone sharper than I expected. But the pastor don't move. He closed his eyes and started praying out loud, commanding anything unclean to be revealed and live in the name of Jesus. The whole way suddenly felt heavy, like the air itself, and thickened Linda stepped back, clutching her chest. "Stop it," she hissed, her voice unnaturally deep. Her body began to tremble and she fell to the floor, thrashing and screaming. People gathering around, some gasping in shock. Linda's scream turned into something almost animal like. Then she started confessing, her voice shaking and broken. "I took them, the placenta, offered them, then told me to do it, to bind their destiny, to trap them in rebellion and failure," she cried. The pastor kept praying, unfazed by her outbursts. "In the name of Jesus Christ, every stolen destiny will be restored. Every baby connected to this evil ritual will be set free," he declared. I stood there frozen as Lydia continued to confess. She spoke about how she's been part of a dark kingdom, sending the placentas to be used in ritual. That would cause the children. They grew up lost directionless, angry, always struggling. She snubbed unless someone prays. The pastor turned to the growing ground, lifting his voice. "If you have a child, pray now. Declare that their destiny is restored, that no plans of darkness will prosper." I found myself whispering a prayer, holding my wife's hand tightly. Other parents began to do the same, tears streaming down their faces. The hallway filled with voice, each one reclaiming their child's future. Then something remarkable happened. Linda let out one final scream, and her body went limp. When she opened her eyes, they were filled with tears. She looked around, confused and shaken. What have I done?" she whispered, her voice now soft and human again. The pastor knelt beside her. "You have been used, but today it ends. Repent and God can give you a new life." Linda broke down sobbing, and the staff helped her to her feet. She was taken away, but something told me she wouldn't be returning to her old ways. As for the babies, over the following weeks, I had testimonies from parents whose children had suddenly changed. Carol called me, crying to tell me her baby was finally sleeping peacefully. My wife and I noticed a new brightness in our eyes, in our child's eyes, like a weight and had been lifted. I don't know how to explain everything that happened, but one thing is certain. Whatever darkness had been at work, it was defeated that day. And I will never forget the sound of that pastor's voice declaring freedom on every child's. It still echoes in my mind, a reminder that even in the darkness places, light always reigns.